What's up, everybody? It's been a while, but I'm back. I took a little hiatus. Sorry. It's been a couple weeks since my last podcast. Had to get some things together. Had to gather my thoughts. But I'm back. But I'm here. Here I am. Beginning of the season. Super busy. But here we are. And I am fortunate to have Ryan Greenspan on the podcast. Been wanting to get him for a while, and it was really cool hearing his story because, like you guys probably heard in the past, I was a Dynasty fan when I was younger, and this guy was one of the founding members, which is really really cool. I mean, and he talked a little bit about how him and Yosh have known each other since kindergarten. That's crazy. And they still play paintball together and travel the world and enjoy each other's company. So I mean, I love it. And Ryan has turned into the pretty much the ultimate clinic master and world traveler. So that's very very cool. But before we get into the podcast, thank you to our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Charm City Paintball. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but I am sporting a Charm City Paintball headband on my pack as a pack band, and this thing is sweet. I mean, it's an American flag, and the stars, the colors, the stripes, everything is stitched in, and it is awesome. I mean, it's pristine. I'm kind of bummed that it's on my pack getting all dirty and nasty, but because I wear a beanie, you wouldn't be able to see it. So these things are awesome. I mean, the quality, they're handcrafted. Everything is very like low run, so it's very rare. But Mike does a great job. Charm City Paintball, check him out. He has a Facebook as well as an Instagram. But if you guys want to see that pack band in particular, go ahead and check out my Instagram. I'm going to be posting up about it more and more. But he has all kinds of stuff available: headbands, head wraps, all kinds of goodies, and he also does custom stuff. So hit him up, Charm City Paintball, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We are also brought to you by Contract Killer, or you might see them on Instagram or Facebook as CK Fight Life. But they've been in the industry for a while. You might have known them as Hybrid, but yeah, CK has been. They've been everywhere. They make packs, they make pants, they make jerseys, they make all kinds of stuff. And what I've seen the most out of them lately from everybody else is they do custom laser engraving, which is really cool. They've done multiple pros guns, and I mean, just sweet designs too. I mean, full, and it's not just a little thing here. I mean, these are full gun designs. And what's neat about it is that you're not really limited to anything, because I mean, they can throw whatever design on the side, and I think they help you out too. So you're not just like, I don't know what to put on there, I want a unicorn or something. No, they have, full-fledged design team that'll design this stuff for you and make your dreams come true with the laser engraving. But it's cool. Yeah, as far as paintball goes, pants, packs, but they also do jiu-jitsu gear as well. So I have a gi of one of their gis, along with a belt. They have a rash guard that's there. Huge supporters of the sport of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I love their gear, man. It's awesome. They have their gis are super high quality, nice cotton, thick, and it's great. But also make sure you check out their all their laser engraving. They have a phone number where you can call Tony at 951-219-5045. And if you call, make sure you tell them that Carl from the Playing On podcast sent you. Or you can go ahead and visit their website, ckfightlife.com, and you can just browse through all of their goodies there. So thank you to Contract Killer. And last but not least, we are brought to you by Planet Eclipse, who have released the CS2. I mean, that thing is pretty snazzy. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but you can check them out on planeteclipse.com, or any of the teams that are sponsored by Planet Eclipse. You've probably seen the plethora of pictures that have come out. that have all of their custom markers that that Planet has provided them. I mean, these things are pretty slick. I had the chance to take one and take a look at it, and I haven't shot it yet because everybody else was using them. So, but they're pretty cool, man. It's a very unique looking design. It's a cooler way that the batteries actually stay inside of the foregrip. They're spring loaded now, so they stay in there nice and tight. I believe they reinforce that, so so that doesn't bend or anything. But also, I mean, just the lines and everything, the bolt design. There's a few different features on this, and the trigger shoe is different, and the way I believe the trigger swings and acts is different. But these things are pretty slick. I mean, and I don't know if you guys saw, but the Aftershock ones are out, and these things are tight. They're very, very sweet, and they have the LV 1.5s out as well, and they're so sweet. Such the splash design with blue, black, and gray, and it's so sick. But make sure you check them out, planeteclipse.com, and get your hands on one of the new CS2s. So thank you to all of our sponsors, and I don't want to hold you up anymore. Here is the podcast with Ryan Greenspan. So, I mean, is that what you use for a lot of your like a lot of your quick videos, or kind of just running around?
Pretty much everything. Yeah, I don't use any other camera. That's it. I have a GoPro. I actually just got a new one, but I have yet to use it. It's just, you know, being able to do this is just so much better, and the picture quality on these things is better than anything else, really, as long as you're holding it stable.
Yeah. Yeah, because I noticed you have that little, what is that, that quick stick? Or, no, it's not quick stick, or what the hell is it called? The switcheroo? There it is.
Yeah, this thing's pretty sweet. And you can put your camera on this. They have a camera mount for it. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what was mounted to my tripod for my sweet, this is how I had, this is on my desk with this thing, and you can put this here, and this is actually really rad. These guys are super cool, too. I'm really stoked on it, because you can kind of like, just flip your camera around.
Yeah, it's such a cool perspective because you get that you don't have to physically switch anything. You have it right there in your hand. Just
right. Yeah, because I mean, I've used so many of these little sticks before, and you'll be like, all right, cool. I got to talk to myself, you know. So you'll have it here. Okay, I'm gonna poke it at some animal's face, you know. Yeah. You're like, wow, that's cool. You know?
So what got? I mean, have you always been filming yourself during all your travels, or is this something that's kind of been in the last 3-4 years that you've really gotten into?
No, I mean, you know, actually, I guess I have been doing it because if you go back on my YouTube channel, I have videos from like 7 years ago or more. And it was more, I started filming myself a little bit more to kind of like show people. Well, first it was pictures. I did a little picture videos on iMovie back in the day because I take pictures of everything. Yeah. And then I realized you can just do the same thing with videos. And then it was when I went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which would have been 5 or 6 years ago. 7 years ago? 7 years ago? Maybe? I don't know. Somewhere out there. I just had a GoPro. It was like the GoPro 2. And I literally had it mounted on the end of a wooden like paper towel holder. And you get that like little, it had the little bike. It's like a bike mount.
Yeah.
Just locks onto. If they still use it all, it's like just locked onto any kind of
like bar handle or something.
Yeah, bar handle or something. And I'd use that for my barrel cam, but barrel cams and GoPros don't really work because you can't. There's no depth of field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just mounted it on that thing, and then I was like, hey, let's just tell a story. I'll film it, and we'll edit it, and make a cool video. And that's actually one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Was that Mount Kilimanjaro video?
I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's like the best. So I've always had an issue with, because I hate seeing people with the selfie sticks and like doing the thing. So I hate being that person.
Yeah.
And so I'll like, when I go on a trip, I'll start to kind of like, okay, I want to do it. And then I go out there and I'm like, I hate putting the camera in front of my face. I hate doing this. Yeah. And I don't like forcing people like my friends. So if I'm going to make a video, I got to be the storyteller, the director, the producer,
the actor,
star,
yeah.
You know, and I got to write it, you know, not write it, but you have to have a plan because music can only push your content so far. Mm-hmm. You can only have like a music video or something, but I like the idea of telling a story. So that's why this Mount Kilimanjaro video was fun because it documented every single day, and it was me and my friend climbing this mountain. Yeah. And then it just worked out so well. And then the other ones are just kind of like, I always go in there with the intention of telling a story, or, because I want to share the world with people. I want to share what we get to do. And sometimes it works, and sometimes I have like two different trips to Africa with like gorillas, and some with like lions and all sorts of cool stuff that are just sitting in my editing suite, because there's no story there. It's like hard to piece things together day by day.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's not cool enough.
Well, I think that's the tough part with, like, because I've always thought about I've always wanted to vlog. Yeah, half the time I think my life, I do so much more of a 9 to 5 than I do, like, then I have time, I feel, even with my family or with, with paintball or anything like that. So it's hard to kind of build a story around something I do so much on an everyday basis. But I was thinking about it more and more. Like, I want to vlog. I think just telling a story would be so cool and be able to do that. But I feel the same way. I hate having to be the one that's always like, talking and this and this and this and this and this, instead of kind of being in the moment. But at the same time, it's a cool memory because you can transpose that onto YouTube or video for the population to watch. But how much B-roll do you have that you haven't used? I mean, there's that too.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a huge respect for those guys that edit these videos, like, especially for, when we see an HK video or whoever, a Virtue video or a PB, whatever, social paintball video, you're like, wow, that was a pretty cool 2-minute video.
Yeah, 2-minute video.
Yeah, I know how tedious it is for me just looking at, like, and I only shoot clips like I'm going to use this. It's just tedious for me to look through like a couple of hours, maybe like even an hour of video, to try to edit something down to like 3 or some odd minutes. I can't imagine the amount of content that these guys have to like sift through and find like, these are the cool fits, clips.
Yeah.
Granted, they're not really telling a story too much. It's just, this is on Friday, this is on Saturday, and this is the finals on Sunday. But, obviously they're music driven and action driven pieces, but like, man, their eyes must be bleeding at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous, because I mean, it's just like you said, even when I shoot little things, I have the shot already in my head. Like, I have, once I shoot it for 3, 4, 5 seconds, I have it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that I have it. But these guys are taking like you said, hours and hours and hours of video, and then they have to cut it up and they have to place it in. I don't even want to know how many times they go back to it and then they actually like finally, and then
you have to sync it up properly, and it just it's crazy. Like I said, it's crazy.
That's a pain in the butt. So I kind of want to talk to you, which you probably told this story over and over and over again. But what I like though is that I kind of grew up watching you guys play, and so and being a fan myself. So it's very cool being able to sit down and talk to you, and kind of what I want to do is kind of get a little bit into your past and how paintball came to you, or you found paintball, and then really into the early days of Dynasty, and why. I mean, so first off, this question: are you one of the originators of the team itself?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I came up with a name.
Oh, really?
Well, I threw the name into a hat of different names that we had. Yeah, because I guess I'll just show you want me to start there.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
So Yosh and I had moved down here for college together to go to San Diego from Northern California, and I was on.
So you're playing paintball already?
Yeah, we were already playing paintball. I was on a team called Out of Control, which turned into Cap Factory team, which myself, Oliver played on the team for a time. He was already on the Ironman. Alex Frage was on the team. Yosh was on the team. And we moved down here, and we're like, it was 2000 when I moved down to San Diego for school. So it would be the 2001 season is when we're like, let's go pro. So back then you could pay the $2,300 or the $2,500. You could be a pro.
Yeah.
Not much qualification. So we're like, sweet, let's do it. And JT back then, is JT still around? They're still around, right? They're in like
I think they're part of Empire or something like that, aren't they?
Yeah, they're under the umbrella of all that. Anyway, so JT USA, which was the big company that back then,
huge,
helped back us a little bit, like with entrance fees, and we ended up making enough to support the team for basically a full season. But we're like, all right, what are we going to call our team name? It was me, Chuck Hench, Alex Frage, Yosh went to the Ironman at this time. He decided to go with Oliver to the Ironman, and then we had Rodney Squires or a couple other guys that were. And I remember I was in school and I was in history at 103 or whatever college history class, and we just happened to be studying dynasties, and so it was fresh in my mind. And we were throwing out names. It was like I think Chuck wanted one of our team names that we thought of was Impact. Like, what about Impact? We had this Webster's dictionary out, and I'm sure Alex Frage's told this story too. Pretty much the exact same story. And I think he was like, impact, damage, or like, catastrophe, or like something like this is what Chuck was coming up with, and I was like, oh, what about dynasty? And I didn't really think about how at that time, like, it's a pretty big name. You can't just.
Well, you guys made the name. I mean, you guys could have been Ape Tit, and if you would have exactly, it would have worked. So you guys made the name for sure,
right? But I mean, it just happened to fit really well with us.
It rolls off the tongue
so long. Yeah. Oh yeah, and it rolls off the tongue. Yeah, it's a good one. So yes, I was there at the beginning. We started it. We were at the time the very first ever team-run team. There was no one telling us what we can and can't do. You'll see with the Ironman, over the history of the Ironman, they're not playing in events because Di says no. Like, tough luck. Yeah. You can't play in that. Like there'll be events. I forgot what event it was, and I want to say that like even Houston Heat, like those guys. Even last year, actually, this is even a good. Randy, from the owner of Houston Heat, was like, if any of my players play in Europe, then you're gonna get docked pay. Like, I guess. And they weren't even playing in Europe. It's like you should be able to play as much paintball as you want. Like my players aren't allowed to play. And Ironman was the same thing. Like the guys weren't even allowed to go to the field one of the weekends that there was a tournament because Di didn't endorse the tournament. It's like, so
the joys of being a contracted player.
A contracted player, yeah. So like our guys. Play as much paintball as you want, and I think that's something that our sponsors have always loved about us. It's like we've had in our contract before. It's like, okay, you have to play in 5 U.S. events and 4 European events. Well, even if the team doesn't go to Europe, it's like, how can we get around this? Well, what if we send 7 of our guys out there and they play on 6 or 5 different teams? Like that's even more value.
Yeah.
So we've been pretty fortunate, and we kind of like trailblazed that whole team run idea, concept, like. Plan,
Yeah, it's worked out pretty well.
It's worked out, right? Yeah,
So,
you really got to go for it.
Yeah. So you and Yosh, you guys went to college together, and you both moved down together.
We actually went to kindergarten together.
Really, that far back?
Yeah, we grew up like a mile and a half away from each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not very many people that can say that they know somebody. At least, I mean,
right.
I'm the furthest back. For me, I think a friend goes is like 5th grade. That's still around because I mean, so many people do so many different things, and it's very fortunate. I think to have somebody that far back to still be doing something that you love to do together.
For sure, I know it's pretty crazy.
So how did paintball come about?
It was.
Oh, hang on. I think I lost your mic.
Am I still on there?
I can hear you, but I think now you're going through the. You're going through the laptop.
I think I dropped it on the ground. Good call. Hold on.
Stay with us, everybody.
Hold on. Technical difficulties with the lav mic.
It's all good.
Great. Yeah, totally just fell right on the ground. See, I gesticulate so much when I talk.
It's all right. It's a good thing. It's engaging.
All right. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm moving my hands. There's cords everywhere. I just got these the fancy Bluetooth headphones, and then next thing you know, I'm already plugged in here and I'm plugged in there. Like I haven't even used these things for anything.
What are wires? What?
Yeah, I know, right? I was so excited to be wire free. I got 2 sets of Bose headsets, and now I'm back to double. I'm at double wires right now, tangled up here.
It's all right.
Okay. So where were we?
So what? How did paintball come about?
Oh yeah, so a couple kids on my block. When growing up, we kind of grew up in like a rural area. So I lived on like an acre of land, I guess. And so we all it's a couple kids from our block, and by block it's like it's not really like a block that you would imagine. It's like an acre, and then the next house is kind of down a little bit.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, hey, we're gonna get some paintball guns. My mom hates guns, or hated, or still doesn't like guns.
Right. Just
But
the word gun, I think, is kind of
yeah. That's
part of
also obviously a stigma that's held the whole sport back. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But a couple of guys were like, hey, we're gonna get some guns, and we looked online, I think first we went to play paintball at like a field called Paintball Hill, which was kind of far away. I'm like, man, this is so much fun. Goggles fogging up, getting shot. We all had pump guns back then.
Typical first time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're like, oh, let's do this. And so back then in the paintball magazines, because there really wasn't an internet. I mean, there was, but not really.
It was physical.
There was an internet, yeah, but basically everything, magazines and phone calls. And so we just kind of like, it was really cool back then. There would be like a package in the magazine. It's like for $120 you get this Diablo 2 pump gun and a JT Whippersnapper goggle and a 12-ounce CO2 tank and a 200-round loader. I'm like, dope. Like, I want to get this.
Yeah.
And $120 back then when I was 15 was a chunk of change.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so mowed a bunch of lawns, got the package in the mail, and basically we started just playing with 100 paintballs each, just playing pump guns in our backyards. Just built a field in my backyard. And then my mom worked near the paintball store, so she would go every week, and we'd play after school. We'd play on the weekends, like play all the time, just pump guns, and we weren't using a lot of paint. So every week she would like take the tanks, like she would take, first it started with 4 12-ounce CO2 tanks, then we got more kids to play, and then it was like 8 CO2 tanks. And so she'd go, and the paintball store owner was like, oh great, here she comes, this lady coming in trying to fill 10 CO2 tanks now, like they hated it. And then so she'd go in, so she kind of knew them, and then we went in a little bit more, and then next thing you know, like more people started playing, and we met Yosh, or kind of started, not met Yosh, but kind of like started hanging out with Yosh more back then because of that, and we'd play at his house because he had a bigger yard, and it just really snowballed from there. And because my mom got to know the paintball store owners so well, because she was and then I'd buy like a box of paint. Back then it was there was no 2,000 round boxes. It was like premium gold was the cheapest paint you could get for $89 a box for 2,500.
Yeah.
Marblizer was like $109, and then when Starball came out, it was like $150 a box. People complain about paint prices now, but I would bag up bags of 100 and sell them to my friends for $5 a 100, and pay for my next case of paint.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what just kept playing. Just we go home, we'd like do our homework, and hey, you want to come over and play paintball? And we run in the backyard and play 2-on-2 or something like that with pump guns.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it slowly upgraded to better and bigger stuff.
So what was your first like really memorable marker that you saved up for, or that you came across?
So that's really funny you say that, because I was just talking to somebody about how packaging, like the package of something is really cool, opening it up, and I related it back to like the very first, and I think it's a smell thing too, because I was just in Atlanta for a clinic, and I was just, man, like packaging is so cool. I remember opening up my very first autococker, and I think autocockers were $500 back then, $4.99, or it was like a special for like some season. You get the regulator comes with it, and it was like $4.99 or something. And it just, the smell of like the gun oil and like how the machine, like the line, it was just a stock one with like the big block in the back, and put on it, dude, it just looked so cool. And I think the box was just a white crummy box, but it was on the foam, and when you open it up, it was just glistening because it had so much oil all over it. And I just remember that smell, and just like that was the most memorable kind of like marker that I got to like experience. And also because I think after that, after I put several upgrades on that thing throughout, that was the fun thing about autocockers.
Yeah.
But after that, I think we started to get sponsored, and things became less expensive and still equally as cool, but there's nothing that jump from when I had a pump gun like the SL68-2 to like that gun, opening that thing up was pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had a couple, but the most memorable, and it's funny too that you mentioned smell, because my most memorable smell memory from back then was, I can't even remember what kind of paint it was, but it just smelled like ass. The paint smelled terrible, and for some reason I always have that just in my head. It was, I don't know what paint it was, but I think it was
ball?
Probably. I don't know. It was terrible. But
well, yeah, I mean that a lousy paint will smell lousy,
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, and I know back when I started too, I never noticed whether or not the paint was like off center or lopsided or dimpled. I was just throwing it into my loader and going out there and playing. And it's crazy how now like I'm looking at the paint and we're always checking it, and how you know, concerned we are about paint now when back then we just want to go out and play, like it didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, now it's the same thing. We still want to go out and play, but we also want to shoot people because like that's kind of our jobs, you know. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, if we can find something to blame an issue, have an issue with, like I don't want to go out there and be like, God, this sucks. Also, I think paint back then was made a little better. It was definitely a bigger ball and heavier.
Yeah,
I know that. More paint inside of it, but just kind of trimming some costs for all the manufacturers out there. You're not getting as quality of a paintball anymore.
I remember I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, because I always shot a was it 6.96, whatever the stock barrel size is. I remember shooting that for forever, and I think 2, 3, or 4 years ago, it like shrank. Like literally, I could throw a ball into the barrel and it would fall right through.
Flies right through. Yeah, you can see daylight on both sides.
Exactly. I'm like, geez, it is getting smaller. So
when did you start playing?
Man, I started playing in right around 2002 is when I started finding the sport and kind of playing. And I jumped into like tournament style and everything right away. I played in the woods maybe twice. Yeah. And I was already hooked because we had a field out here in Ohio, an indoor field, which I got to give it to Eric Garbers. He tried his best, but it was, you know, if you mix paint with dirt, it tends to turn into like this mud, and then mud tends to turn into concrete. And we just had this hard as hell concrete indoor that we used to play at. And man, I would be there after I worked there, and then I would play after I worked I don't know, 4 or 5 hours in the day or whatever after work, and then I just played there, and then eventually got on Timid Effect.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and those were the years that I was following you guys.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because in 2000, that would have been right as we were started the 2001 season, did pretty well. 2002 got better, and then that's when we started really doing a lot better. So I think we came in right at the right time to be to follow us.
What was intriguing to me was that how young you guys were, because paintball. Traditionally, and I've only been in it for so long. You've obviously been in it longer than I have, but I mean, traditionally, from what I've seen, it's always been like an older guy's game.
Well, yeah, and that's what the big breaking point for us was, or like the way we were able to break out, is because, like you said, you started in 2002, and you've only really played a couple of games in the woods, and you're like, oh, we'll just play this, you know, speedball. Basically is what it was still kind of, it was airball, hyperball, mix of the two. Yeah. But when we started playing in like 96, 97, kind of right there, and then 98 would have been my first World Cup, I think. But half of the World Cup was played in the woods. Actually, 80% of it was played in the woods, and there was one hyperball field and one airball field. Right? And this is back when the airball fields were like this. They weren't modular. It was like there was a big inflatable ring around it, and then there was tubes that go across each yard marker line, and then wherever there was another hose that connect a bunker, they would zip that thing together. And so that was like the advent. That's like where it came to start moving out of the woods, and that's where we were. So we were younger kids, and we're playing like in the woods back at our home field, and then playing in a mix of woods and like, you know, spool fields, spools and crates.
Yeah,
that's like in pallets. You know, that's where we grew up. So we were like right there on the forefront of that transition. And so it's easier to be an older guy playing in the woods because it's not so fast. Like you only need a couple of really fast guys because the fields were so spread out. I mean, obviously, you know, kind of being able to play, you can play any of those spots, right? So if you're playing in the woods, it's like I could run all the way up there, or I can just kind of jog over to here. And then now it's a lot harder to do something like that. So as the fields were always changing in size and everything like that, we were just able to adapt a lot easier. And I think, you know, I remember we were like one of the first people to kind of run and shoot. Like that was kind of a thing, but it wasn't, you know, when you're running and shooting in the woods, it's like, I'm just hoping a ball makes it through all these branches and maybe gets near this guy or scares him a little bit. But now it's like, you have to do it.
It's a must. Yeah. And I think the same thing goes for, I believe you guys were the first to properly shoot left-handed.
Yeah, probably. That's a skill that I know that we picked up from like the Ironman guys, because, you know, when I grew up, it was like Billy Wing and Eric Roberts were always They were from Northern California also, and so they were the ones who got on the Ironman first from up there. And that was something that they all kind of did.
Yeah.
But again, like it was super easy to come out the old Kentucky left hand if you're behind a stick pile. Like you don't need to come out, like you don't need to like really snap shoot too much if you're behind sticks. You know, you can kind of wiggle your barrel through a hole and shoot whatever hand you wanted. So yeah, it wasn't that important. But as soon as it started kind of like moving into once you're in a spool or like a box crate, you got to now kind of learn to switch hands a little bit more. But that was like the transition, and then all of a sudden now we're in hyperball fields and you have to like get your barrel on that little tube crease, so you have to start shooting left hand. You can't really do this as much unless you're Bob Long with a warp feed.
Dude, I remember seeing a picture of those. It was first when YouTube first came out, or was still in its infancy, and I saw a warp feed with a Halo YouTube whole thing, because at first I thought the warp feed was just the warp feed. I didn't know you actually had to put a loader on the warp feed.
Right, for the belt.
Yeah, for it to even operate. And I was watching it, and I was like, Jesus, like, yeah, you I mean, your head's sticking out, and there's no loader, but you have this whole thing that's just, yeah, like octopus just sitting on your gun.
That's so funny, because I think when it was first coming out, I was in Chicago one year, and Marcus Nielsen was still playing it, and they wanted him to like endorse it or something, or they wanted him to use it, and he was obviously playing up front. I remember watching him run, and he like went and dove, and the thing just exploded into like a bunch of pieces, and like now he's left with this thing just spinning around, and it was really funny.
Yeah, those. Not that I'm happy that those didn't catch on, but man, yeah, that was kind of ridiculous.
I don't know if you've. I mean, I played against guys with him, namely Bob Long, like when he had his intimidators that shot 29 balls a second or 35 balls a second, and he has this warp feed on it, and you can't shoot him. You know, especially when they had those cone airball fields, or the airball field bunkers that are just this cone. He's just sitting Indian style behind this thing, you know, basically with just all you see is the corner of a goggle and like a tip of a barrel, and just this snake is just shooting out of the, you know, and he's just going like this, and you can't shoot him, and it's impossible to battle against him.
I wonder why, you know, this kind of takes me back too, because you know we've always had the you know, we as in the paintball community, the tournament paintball community, we've always had this ever-changing next season, right? It's always, this year is always an experimental year for what could possibly happen for next year, or what could change for next year, because of how much the industry and the sport itself is changing. But I always wonder, like, why limited paint didn't come earlier in the sport itself.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think because the paint manufacturers didn't really want to not sell as much paint. At events, and I understand why they did it, but at events in Europe, they sell like almost 60% less paint. But the gamble is that they're hoping that people will now in the off season play more, because if I'm playing limited paint, I can play 2 days rather than just one longer day or one shorter. You know, so they're hoping that it could stretch out, but I'm not sure that that's even happened.
I don't know.
But yeah, even like paint was even more expensive back then. It was funny. I remember talking to the HK guys at one of the events last year, and I thought tournament paint at the events was, it's unfortunate. I mean, so thankfully we don't really know what the cost of the paint is at the event.
Well, yeah, well, you're in your position like that, it's not really necessary.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody, and the last I heard, I mean, which when I'm talking to some friends at World Cup who were buying paint, I thought it was like $65 or, you know, something like that for Hellfire. I guess they don't make Hellfire anymore, and paint's $35 at tournaments, you know, because I was talking to the HK guys. I'm like, isn't it like $50 for a case? And they're like, we wish, you know, like Virtue's over there selling it for $25. We have to compete with them, so we're selling it for like $30, $25, $30. And they're like, we're not really making any money on this. It's just, you know, undercutters pizzas out there. And everybody's just kind of undercutting themselves, and that's but I guess, I don't know, I mean, it's a really good question why they didn't do that before.
So whose idea was it for the banana ball?
I think it might have just been Alex's dad. He's the one who had the paintball factory, and it's just like, hey, we could put scent in it. I think it cost to put a scent in a box of paint, it costs like maybe $1 more per case, like max. maybe. And I think that, what was it, Pro Ball maybe? Someone else had an apple scented paintball a long time ago. And I was trying to get Empire when they were sponsoring us. I'm like, hey, let's make a Dynasty paintball. It like just seems like a great idea, especially knowing that the cost, or from my understanding, the cost was only like $1 or less for a case of paint, and you could usually mark that up at least $5, $10. People would pay up. I would pay a premium. You know, if I was out there and I'm like, okay, it's $35 for this one or $45, and it smells like something. Yeah, that's kind of fun. And I think Billy Sharansky from Empire was like, yeah, but if we put the scent in there, it kind of like there's a trace scent in the next batch of paint we make, so it kind of has like still a residual scent. I'm like, all right. So
keep
he's like,
making
well, we have to wash it out, and I go. And he's like, oh, we have to wash it out. It takes longer to wash out. I'm like, well, just have the residual scent, and someone gets like a bonus.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like a great marketing tool. But what do I know?
I'm not that deep into the industry, so I don't know those answers. Yeah. But I thought that, because that was 06?
Yeah. It was like
05, 06, something like that?
Yeah.
Dude, I thought it was the coolest shit. It seems so simple, but it's just like, I thought it was a great idea. I mean, we always knew when you guys were playing, and
it was such a strong smell. That was some of the best paint that was ever made. And you know what's funny is we were playing the Naughty Dogs. I think Rocky Newth grabbed a bag of it, and he thought that there was like he wanted to have it tested by scientists to see what exactly is in there, because he thought he had this theory, because we were pretty darn good back then. He had this theory that we had this chemical in it that made people drowsy when they smelled it. Like we were shooting that chloroform, or whatever.
Chloroform.
We were shooting that at people.
God forbid you break one in your loader. And
I mean, that's pretty. Yeah, or your barrel, like, cleaning it off, because I mean, there's paint all over everybody. It's like, well, I'm out this one, coach, because I'm passing out because backfire.
Just falling out in the corner.
Yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah, I mean but going back to the beginning, being in my position when I was on Tip and Effect, I still have, I don't know where it is, but I still have your guys' Triple Crown poster from back then, where and it has
all of our pictures.
Yeah, all of your pictures all around it, and then everybody signed it. It's so funny. That's my one big poster that I still have that I got signed. I don't even remember where I got it signed because I was so giddy about it.
Dude, that's so funny you said that. I'm going to show you a picture real quick. But so I had that poster on my wall. Like, my friend, when I first kind of moved out of, or like not first down to San Diego, when we got that thing, my buddy, who was our pit manager, had framed that for us, and we had it on our wall in like one of my first apartments when I moved down to the San Diego like beach area. And one of my moves, this is a funny story too, but my roommate, we were trying to like get rid of some stuff, and he had like a bunch of crap out. We had a bunch of crap out in the driveway, and he put on Craigslist our address and said free stuff in the driveway, and then like left and came home to people rummaging, like someone was like trying to wheel our refrigerator out of our house. Jesus. So anyway, this poster got stolen, and my friend Red just texted me 2 days ago and goes, look what I found at the Goodwill in Claremont Mesa.
Yeah, that's the exact same poster that I have.
Yeah, he found this, which is the one that I had in the house. This is the actual poster because it's the same frame, and he found it at a Goodwill somewhere in San Diego. It was just randomly at a Goodwill.
Wow,
how crazy! That's just that text message came to me yesterday or the day before. How funny is that?
So nuts. How much did he pay for it?
I didn't ask him. I was like, you have to get that.
$2.
Like, I'll get it. Probably nothing. I mean, sure the Goodwill's like, yeah, I don't know what this is.
Well, the frame is at least worth $4, so we'll get
exactly. We'll give you $5. I mean, it really isn't worth too much, but it's still pretty cool. Nostalgia.
Yeah. So when did at what point did you kind of sit back? I mean, it could have been, right when you guys started or when you guys started winning tournaments, but when did it kind of start kicking in for you as far as, man, this could really go somewhere, or we're actually, doing something that nobody's ever done before?
Well, I think it was kind of two different points, I guess. The first point was Spider Cup in 2000.
That's the Mustang win, right?
That was when we won Mustangs. You know, that was still like we were still amateurs technically. Well, we were 100%, and we went out there and we won cars. That was the turning point for my mom, at least.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh wow, this is." And we were still in high school, or that was like the summer of like just graduated, right?
Wow.
Yeah, in 2000. And so that was a pretty big turning point because that was kind of like, oh wow, this is bigger than we kind of thought, or bigger than. I mean, we obviously still wanted to play paintball and play it competitively, but like that was a honest to goodness like big time prize.
Oh yeah.
And then the following season, we started Dynasty, and I was still in college. Yosh was in college. This is our first year, and we won the World Cup that year. And back then, there wasn't a lot of money in it with as far as prizes and whatnot, and so it was still kind of like it was still a hobby on the side. And then 2002, it started getting bigger and bigger, and we started winning more and more, and we had the sponsorship to be able to start going to Europe, and now we're traveling internationally playing this game, and then that's when I think it was maybe 2003 or 4 is when bigger sponsorship dollars started coming in. The industry was picking up. It was on a huge uptick, and I remember going into my advisor at school, my personal whatever counselor, whatever the advisors are called these days. Counselors? Are they called the counselors?
I think so. I never went to college, so
yeah, but it'd be the same thing.
I don't fucking know
for high school. Anyway, so I was there and I was like, hey, I'm looking for some insight here. This is what I'm doing. This is how much. This is the business that we own. This is how much money we're making as far as just running a business.
So you were considering the team a business at this point.
Well, it was, yeah, because we had merchandising, we had, and everything has always been a licensing. That we've licensed our name out to, we licensed it to HK. Back then, we licensed it to Activision, to Intel. We had Rockstar, Smart Parts.
Rockstar, yeah.
So whenever in any other kind of sport, same thing. Whenever there's a product that has Dynasty on it, Dynasty gets a royalty, and that's how sports are. So we were running a pretty much back then like $1 million business, sports business.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in international business in college, and talking to my counselor and saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going on. My Spanish class, because I was in advanced Spanish 5.0 something. I'm like, hey, they're only really allowing me to miss one class before it's like full grade off, and I'm leaving the country a week out of every other month, and I'm doing this here, and they're like, yeah, you should keep doing that. And I was like, what? I was looking for a different answer for me. You guys work for the school, right? I'm like, yeah, you can always come back to school, and right now, because if you, I guess, college credit's gonna just stay there with you.
Yeah.
Like you can always come back. Like there's not very many people that have an opportunity to do what we're doing and still doing straight out of college. And this is also a really big takeaway is we had this opportunity in place before I chose to take an extended leave of absence, which is now going on a decade. But
you still have your credits.
I still got my credits. Those things are still in the bank. But that's an important takeaway because I talk to parents and I talk to young kids all the time, and I talk to aspiring paintball players, and it's definitely a goal and a dream, and it's definitely an amazing opportunity to be able to play pro. But as you know, and I know, it's not easy to do, and there's not very many people out of the entire pro league. There's a small percentage of those players who are only playing paintball, and it's a huge grind. Look at I live with Kyle Spica. He works at Nordstrom. Blake Yarber does construction on the side. Tyler Harmon has a full-time job back at home. Most pro players, Archie, who's one of the best paintball players, also has a full-time job working for a family business. So like, if you're not comfortable with flying around, I mean, Marcelo and I do it full-time, and I'm gone 200,000 miles, flying 200,000 miles a year. I'm gone several months out of the year away from home, and I'm really grinding, and a lot of it has been built off of Dynasty's success, obviously. But I always tell people, this is sorry for kind of veering off here.
Oh, no, that's all right.
But I always tell people who are aspiring, want to come out, like, hey, I got it. I played a couple D2 tournaments, and I'm going to move out to San Diego, and I'm going to become a pro paintball. I was like, absolutely, that's a great idea. However, I just want to let you know it's an incredibly difficult feat to accomplish, and so one kid actually, I think, even just said, I'm thinking about dropping out of school and doing this. I said, absolutely not. Like, do not drop out of school until you already have like a backup plan. You have to have something in the back burners before you have to have a plan, like a sturdy base before you can just dive headfirst into something. If you don't know how to swim, don't dive into the deep end of the pool, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So that's something that the counselor was like, yeah, you should just, screw school. It seems like you're pretty successful as is. I'm like, oh, great, all right. So
Well,
fortunately, it's worked out really well, and I've learned quite a bit about a lot of stuff over the years.
Well, I think it's the the true professional athlete, or at least in paintball wise, the true professionals are the ones that are traveling and doing clinics. I mean, that is the way. I'm assuming this, but that is the way that you guys are making the majority of your income, is through clinics and traveling and selling. Not, I mean, it sounds bad, but selling yourself, selling your abilities,
your likeness,
pretty much.
Yeah, abilities and likeness. Yeah. And I mean, there's on pretty much every pro level. There's pro camps, there's pro this and that, and there's endorsements, and you can buy a Tom Brady jersey, a nickel off of every jersey or $1 off of every jersey goes to Tom Brady, and $1 goes to this fund, and $1 goes to the Patriots. But it's the same kind of thing, and another thing is like, it kind of sucks. We're not getting a paycheck. Our paycheck is a gun or 2 jerseys, or if that's through sponsorship. That's how most sponsorship deals are.
Mm-hmm.
For most of the pros, let's say the majority of the pros who are getting paid. If you're not on Heat or Impact, where there's a large stake guarantor that's got a bunch of cash to throw around, then you're getting paid in product. As you know, I mean, I know you have your guns.
Yeah.
You have your Signature Series guns, which always look pretty sweet, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And then, it's like you're going to get a couple guns, and that's what you get for the season.
You have to learn how to sling gear, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I mean, every guy that plays an Ironman, I know they get guns. Like that's just how most teams are. Is you get a gun budget, and you budget that out to the players, and the players can do what they would like with them. Most of the time, it's got to sell them.
Well, and a lot of the teams too are lucky to even have that. I mean, there's a lot of there's teams that were, if you're on a pro team, you might only get that gun for that year, and then you can sell it at the end of the year and maybe have some soft goods. I mean, because that's where with the industry, at least with the pro league, I feel there's not necessarily an imbalance, but the support throughout the teams is so like just roller coastered. I mean, some just have full support. Obviously, they have a name behind them, but with other sport, it's like there's no equal facilities for each. I mean, you might have take DMG for example. They're constantly practicing impact at that field, Dave's Field, I think, all the time. I think
it's actually called DMG.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like they're constantly playing all the time against a pro team. When how many other of these semi-pro teams have the chance to be able to do that, to play against all these other teams, let alone a pro team? Right. And I'm just wondering when, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, but when it'll kind of level out, where let's say Rennick for Chicago Aftershock, for a big Midwest team like that, has a full-size indoor facility where we can practice at year-round, and be able to get those reps in, and be able to support. Be able to pay his guys a small salary amount, but I don't know where it is. Oh my God, it would totally be. And I think it's just how you've come across. Not you've come across. You worked your ass off for it, but all of your social media now. I mean, that's all starting to pay off. Obviously, this is all I'm just assuming because I don't know, but I'm sure people are approaching you about product and about this and about that. And I'm wondering what the big reason why, like a GoPro, Red Bull, and all these other companies have really kind of shied away from this extreme sport.
Well, I can tell you exactly why. Those two specifically aren't into it. The owner of Red Bull and the legal team from GoPro they don't want to have anything to do with guns. Red Bull we've approached when we had a sports agent. We've approached them several times before. We actually have a friend that works there now as well, and marketing, and they've always been anti-gun. However, the GoPro mindset is slowly changing because they are big into esports, and esports. There's a lot of first-person shooters.
Yeah.
So I think that their tone is kind of changing. However, guns are a very touchy subject. GoPro is the exact same way. I believe that they were involved with paintball, or they knew exactly what paintball is, and they were very into like kind of doing a product deal with a couple different teams. But then the legal department said, nope, no way, we're not going to get involved in a gun sport. And as a matter of fact, if you look at one of their not most recent, but an ad they had come out, I think it was for the GoPro Sessions, and it was like the product was sitting on the white ground screen, and it was like dirt with this water would splash on it, then dirt, and then you saw paintballs hitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that commercial?
Yeah.
So,
I was like, that's paintball.
Yeah, those are paintballs.
Yeah.
That's not house paint.
Yeah.
And so we're on their radar, and these, we were sponsored by Rockstar. We had a Rockstar deal for like 4 or 5 years. And it was great. Rockstar was stoked with us. Maybe 3 years. I don't know. It was awesome.
Oh,
it was
hell yeah.
fantastic, and it was a pretty lucrative deal. That fell apart, and
Intel too, right?
Yeah, Intel was a really, really solid deal. We lost Intel because the guy who sponsored us got a promotion, which usually means like we're sitting pretty, but he got promoted to a separate division.
Yeah.
And then the new guy was like, "Yeah, we got this budget. I'm gonna put it in something else. I don't know you guys,
Jeez.
And then we lost the Rockstar deal because this just blows my mind. But basically, the guy who originally started the deal, same thing. He got kind of too busy, and he handed it off to this other guy who was actually the owner's electrician who happened to play paintball. So this guy weaseled his way into it and was like, "Oh, paintball? You guys need someone to manage the paintball division? I got you." And it was like, "Okay, I'm giving Dynasty. We're giving Dynasty. I have a budget of $100,000.
Yeah.
Why would I give Dynasty 80% of that or 50% of that when I can give my team 50% of that and then like sponsor a bunch of little crappier teams?"
Really?
Yeah, that went. I mean, because it was like some guy who had like a D. I don't even think it was a D4, like some crappy team.
Yeah, that worked out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna manage it. I'm just gonna give my team and like a bunch of my friends' teams cash, and then that was gone quick.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the guy was a clown. But that was a sweet deal, and also the dissolution of magazines, print media, also kind of because that was the most trackable. I could pull out a magazine and be like, hey, this magazine is circulated 20,000 or 50,000 times, it's PGI, and we're on the front cover.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're so excited.
Yeah.
Those guys are always pumped on stuff like that. But
yeah, I'm wondering now if it's going to be more attractive to those outside companies now that we might possibly going in the direction of live streaming the events. I'm hoping at least that happens. But,
yeah, it's so, and it's funny because this is how it's been. It's our night for the last 15, 17 years. We're right on the bubble,
mm-hmm.
and I was always told, like, we were trying to get Gatorade involved, and because our sports agent back in the day, we had a sports agent, and he represented an Olympic volleyball player, actually the best female Olympic volleyball player in the history of Olympics. And she had dope deals. Like she had Gatorade, she had Nike, she had those big mainstream sponsors. And we're like, hey, when you're talking to him about Kerry, he's like, yeah, don't worry, because he gets paid on our deals. And he's like, don't worry, I've mentioned it to them all. They always say they know about paintball and they know about the demographic, the market, the age range is perfect. It's like 15 to 30-year-old males. Mm-hmm. It's great 35-year-old males. It's a great demographic. Everybody's really passionate about it. The problem is they don't want to be the first person to jump in, because if it fails, they're out. They don't want to be the last person to jump in. So I've always heard that we're just waiting for one big company to jump in, and it was great when Under Armour came in, and you thought that maybe that's the bubble, but Nike started taking notice, and what it is ends up being just one rep.
And it's repping teams. I mean, I think that's the thing too. Is it's representing these individual teams? But if we could somehow direct it towards the league, but not let the league take over. Mm-hmm. Say, oh, you guys can come in, but we're still in charge. Like maybe open those doors a little bit, and have an Under Armour logo or a Nike logo on some bunkers or the field or something like that, and then live stream And I mean, that's the biggest thing I feel. That's my biggest argument right now. And I've kind of been going back and forth with Cena about it because I had a podcast like a few weeks ago where I was talking from Inside the Net, Brad.
Right.
And I was kind of going back and forth with him because he has his opinion on Go Sports and the league and everything, and I wanted to hear it. But I think right now is the age, as you know, of social media, live streaming, pretty much being your own entrepreneur, your own entity of things.
Bingo, you're on it.
What we're doing right now, right? So, but I think that also gives us the chance to put paintball on this slingshot and be shot out into the public, with just being this trending thing on YouTube. I mean, if we could make this tournament and make it digestible, and which I think we're not slowly, I think we're almost there, to where somebody can watch it and kind of understand it. A few more camera angles and a few more tweaks. But if we could just thrust this thing into a trending area on YouTube or on Amazon or some kind of streaming device, not have anybody pay for it, because if somebody approached me and say, hey, you should watch this cup stacking tournament.
It's really cool, yeah.
$10, and you can watch it. I'm going to go, no, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to watch this. Obviously, if I knew somebody in the sport, I might watch it. But the thing is that if we can at least have the curiosity be there for the click and the view, I mean, that's step one. And as soon as we do that and we stop selling so much to the sport already, I feel like that's going to be our step outside and our introduction to all these other companies to come in.
Yeah, I was thinking. Well, here, what do you think about the split deck?
I hate it.
Hate it.
I think there's no time for storytelling.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. What do you think? You know what I was thinking? Also, and I agree with you for 100%. But the 2-minute break was maybe just a little too long in between points. Like for football, what is it? 45 seconds between plays. That's you got to find that sweet spot. But the only way to kind of like get it going a little bit faster, maybe a minute and a half. The problem is they never test anything out. There's never like a testing phase between
off season.
But that whole off season, it's not like
3 months.
And I told those guys, I'm like, hey, look, Tom, Bart, get your impact guys, or just be like, hey, Ironman and Dynasty. We live in San Diego. It's rained 5 times in the last 15 years that I've lived here that I can remember.
Yeah.
So it's always not, the weather's always nice. Be like, hey, look, we're gonna supply the paint, send some refs out, and we're gonna test out over 2 days. We're gonna test out 4 different formats. See how it works. We'll make sure that if you don't have enough guys, we'll find some other people that can do it, and we'll explore. They need to test this stuff out, and you could probably do it over 4 days. It would cost a lot less than hosting a team captains meeting in Las Vegas, just so people can go to Las Vegas. Like they need to figure out, and they need to come up with some ideas rather than, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they're like, okay, here's the new rules, or here's the new bunker sets. I hope this works. Like, you could have chosen the new bunker sets, and maybe after World Cup, we could have tested them out and realized, okay, this giant cube might be a little too big. Like at the Winter Classic, you went. I don't. Yeah, they had this cube. It wasn't actually the actual size of the bunker, but the thing was massive. It was a massive rectangle. They've cut the size of that thing down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But there's things that you feel like, and I'm sure you could probably attest to this just using some paintball product. You're like, did anybody test this stuff?
Yeah.
Before, like, whose arm does this fit, or like what knee pad is this? What is it? I'm supposed to put these on my knees, or it just seems like some common sense stuff. And this has gone back to my JT days. I'm like, all right, so yeah, we should test this thing out. And they're like, oh no, that's the production one. I remember Oliver Lang designed some knee pads that JT made. Like, I mean, remember those things? A knee pad, this big yellow and gray knee pad that was like.
Is that the ones he wore on his wrists?
Yeah, pretty much. Those are another prototypes, and it's like, hey man, did anybody actually test these things? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, well, we've already went into production for those things, so we'll change it on the next run. Like, why do that? And it's the same concept. Like, instead of just releasing it with just thinking about it in your head and looking at a field map on paper, why don't you just spend a skid of paint and get some guys out there and practice this thing and see the players' opinions?
Yeah, it's called R&D.
There it is. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that it is that simple. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, you have areas of the country that are perfect for paintball weather and for trying shit out. We have a weekend every 5 days. So, I mean, go out there and play and do this stuff. I mean, we do have a short off season, but we can still in that off season, even mid season, start to develop something. I mean, have you? I don't know if you heard about Ryan Brand's idea of this kind of a 2-minute shot clock kind of idea, where it's like in intervals of 2 minutes to be able to win a point or lose a point. And I was throwing out the idea of maybe now, instead of having to like hit a buzzer or something like that, you either have to, or there could be a buzzer, but it's whatever team has more guys at the end of that 2 minutes gets that point. So it's like you don't always have to win the point by hitting the buzzer as long as you shoot more guys. But then there's the whole incentive of like,
just sitting back and no action.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we shot a guy off the break. Now we can sit back. But as you know,
but then the other team would take more risks to try to. You might lose a little bit of dynamics, but that's like a cool concept that I don't know, but this is how it goes down. They're like, all right, should we do that? Okay, I've thought about it. Yeah, let's just run it. We'll send out an email. Like that'll be the new rules for 2019.
Reply all. Everybody.
I feel like we spitballed enough to really like, get it down. Let's just run those things into the new NXL rule book.
Well, don't you think we should go out and try it? No, it sounded good.
We just don't have the budget for that. We'll just run it for a full year, see how it works. Then change it again.
Well, I'm really hoping. I mean, I think we're going in that general direction. I hope, just for the fact that I know that I'm not going to be here forever, and I would like to see, more than anything, see the kids and the teams, the newer teams that are coming up, to be able to kind of build off of what you guys have built and what I feel in ways I've helped build, especially now with this platform with the podcast. I feel like we're getting these opinions out a lot more, and I think the right people are starting to hear them, and I think this has been definitely something that's been very beneficial for helping maybe direct a few things.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that these things were on YouTube also. Is that what it is, on YouTube also?
Yeah, so I take the audio from all of this and I send it through SoundCloud and iTunes and on all the other podcast platforms, and then I have a program that actually records all the video and the audio, and I take that and I ship that over to YouTube.
Okay, cool. And you're getting a lot more traction now lately, though, right?
Actually, I have a lot more people listening than I do watching, because I think the thing
for
is,
sure.
Yeah, because podcasts, and now that I've been listening to them, you can do whatever. Like, it doesn't slow you down by listening to a podcast, because you're simply doing that. You're listening to it on a drive home or drive to work or this or that. But with YouTube, like, you have to sit there, at least if you're interested in it, to like sit down and watch it.
Yeah, and also with YouTube, you have to have the video playing. You can't just like have the audio of the YouTube. Like, you have to have your screen, so if you're low on batteries or something, you actually have to have the thing actually showing you the video. You can't just, it's another interesting thing, kind of annoying about YouTube, because some of the stuff I just want to listen to, but you have to have it open in the screen.
I think they fixed that. I think YouTube,
really?
I think YouTube Red. I think if you sign up for YouTube Red, you can play all of that through. So there's a little way that you can do it. You just got to pay for it.
So speaking of before we get off the webcast, what do you think about what do you think if they gave the webcast away for free for a day? Because right now you have to pay per day, or you just have to sign up for a full month. What is it?
I think it's all monthly based.
It's all monthly based. I always thought about the idea of if they gave it away for the day, just kind of as a tester, but almost. And back to the social media stuff before we move on, is like not require, but really push and employ the importance of all the pro players promoting that. Like, hey, we're going to give the webcast away for free, and coming up with a couple of graphics and just be like, hey, post this on your social media. Let's see if we can get a huge influx, because that will determine whether or not the webcast can be sustainable for free. That's the biggest thing. I'm not going to tell anybody like, hey, you want to watch me? Oh, Johnny Perchak won't even cough up the $10 to go. I'm like, Johnny, dude, it's $10, bro. Like, just cancel it after you're done. Just pay for the weekend for $10 rather than hounding me for a free login, which I don't have. For those of you guys who don't know, Johnny Perchek is an old teammate of ours, but still adamantly wants to watch it. But again, my friend won't even pay the $10. But I think that like back when Paintball Access was hosting it, it was like they did it for free for a while, and they tried to have the industry support it via sponsorship, and they had the normal sponsors, which is Planet Eclipse, which supports pretty much every paintball thing that they can.
Yeah.
And then a couple of other, like maybe Virtue's jumped in there, HK jumped in there, like some of the platinum sponsors threw some dough at it, but they didn't really find it enough of a return on the investment.
Right.
But if you can get, hey, look, it's free now. Everybody's on their computers and their phones now. Maybe if you got triple the numbers, you could sell the ad space and cover the difference, perhaps. Try that out for the next. Like that's the idea. Implement it out in the first one event. Take a loss for one day, and then see if people sign up, or figure out
even
what those
Friday,
numbers.
Saturday.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, it's free. And then you just pay for something, because maybe that'll even boost the overall subscriptions. But just taking that data and then going into Dallas, they can go, okay, look, we had X amount multiplied, more people. Like, let's try to sell ads and just do the whole weekend, the whole month for free, and see if we can get ad revenue to factor it out.
But who are they selling it to? I mean, that's the thing, right? They're selling it to people who already know what paintball is. I mean,
they're selling
the
ad revenue, or
no. I'm sorry. No, not selling ad revenue. I'm sorry, subscriptions, like individual subscriptions. They're just selling that to people who already know. The people who are buying those are people who already play paintball, right? And it's always, grow the sport. Yeah. Well, I think that we can't grow from within. Right. If we already know what the hell's going on. I mean, we have to open those floodgates to be able to take that risk, and I mean, that's how people are going to get interested in it. That's the curiosity factor that I've been trying to talk about, and try and get them saying, hey, just a couple days, a Friday, Saturday, throw it up on YouTube. I swear to God, it'll start trending. If we have these, excuse me, if we have these ad spots that we could sell, or they could sell. I have no affiliation with them, but that they could sell. I mean, that's going to bring in so much more money. And now, since they have 4 more teams on the pro side of it, maybe up the first place prize a little bit instead of upping the entry fee, and then maybe that could be a little bit more lucrative for the team who does win. But as how much money do you have to spend to actually send a pro team to a tournament? And then if you do win, which is I would say the hardest thing in paintball is to win a pro event. Even if you win the pro event, if you don't give the money out to the guys that played for you, that won the event, you're still only maybe breaking even. I mean, and I'm not saying not trying to look at this from a spot where
I'd say it's about between $10,000 and $15,000 to send a pro team to an event.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's. I'm not trying to look at that and go, well, that's the only reason I'm playing paintball is just to win. Obviously, it's not fucking that, because I haven't won a tournament since 2006. I've come close, but I mean, I'm obviously love the sport, and that's the reason I've stuck around for so long. But I'm not in it for that. I'm trying to make it so that when kids have these dreams of playing pro, that it's not just them getting on a team and, okay, well, I'm so excited to be here that I don't care that I get half a gun and 1 knee pad, and it's I don't want that. I want eventually these guys and these kids who are putting all the time and effort and money, because you are obviously in a very unique situation, and the whole Dynasty. I mean, you guys were part of this movement and you changed the sport itself, so it's a very unique perspective that you guys have. But look at all the time and effort and blood and sweat and tears that you had to put into that, and everything fell into place, and all your guys' hard work fell into place. But I mean, all these other pro teams are obviously not in that same position. So just because you turn pro does not mean you made it in this sport.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what we touched on earlier. It's like, hey, man, just like I love you have to be relentless in it, right? You have to have a drive, and I love confidence. It's important. However, there also has to be a realistic goal, and there has to be realism in there. You can't just be like, okay, because we get these messages. Rusty gets them a lot. A lot of times I'll defer them straight over to Rusty, but it's like, hey, I played in my first 3-man just recently, and we did pretty well, and I'm obviously the best player on that squad, on my 3-man squad. So I'm looking to get a tryout for Dynasty, and I kind of want to move out there, and I'm going to go pro. And while the confidence is huge, a huge factor in moving forward in any kind of career, but there's got to be a realism, and you have to understand where you are in the bigger picture. And that's why I always tell people whenever they're like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is, because I get tons of messages and emails, and I always say, hey, look, get to a regional event, play the regional event. Okay. Get on a team and try to make it to the closest NXL event. Even if you can't play, go there and go to the division that you feel like you could compete at. Watch some games if you're not able to play at the event. Watch some games and just be like, I can do that. And this is also good for people who are like, where am I? How good am I on the national level? Oh, I'm not going to go to the event because I don't have a team to play in. You want to go there, have your baseline, know who you are, and if you're the best player at your field, you need to start branching out. I love shooting for the stars, and you have to have massive goals. However, you got to be realistic in those. You can't just be like, I'm really good. I'm the best in my field. I'm gonna, Now, granted, yes, someday you can play for Dynasty, and let's see, I think 3 or 4 people that we've taught in Dynasty clinics and that have come to our clinics have played on our team before.
Really?
Afterwards, yeah. 2 of the Impact players. Josh Wimette, but Zane and Zach and Bart went to a Dynasty clinic up in Canada. Zach Wake, him and his dad came out to a Dynasty clinic in California.
I'm not gonna lie, I always wanted to play for you guys.
I mean, you're right there. I mean, if you weren't so far away, again, we're talking about budgets. We don't have the budget that we don't have that Intel and Rockstar money anymore. So we don't really fly many people.
I'm not interested now because you guys don't have that money anymore. So I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah. No, but there can be a future in the sport, and that's the thing is you just got to understand that we're not equated to other professional sports, but you can have the time of your life and experience incredible things, but you got to be relentless in your practice.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready for losses and wins, but it is tough. And you can do it, but just set realistic goals is something that I think is really important.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said before, unless you play for Impact, Heat, you better come in playing pro and be good, and then make some friends, and then try and figure out how to open up a paintball field.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is, like how do you get on Dynasty? Is there open tryouts? I don't think we've ever had a tryout, but it's play really well or well enough to be noticed by someone. Definitely helps to be local.
Oh yeah, yeah.
helps it quite a bit to be local in the area.
Yeah, and you don't have to be the perfect. That's the thing. You don't have to be the perfect player. Hell, when I first got picked up for Excessive, the only thing that they really, at least that I think, or that they told me, but the only thing that I got picked up for was my speed. I didn't have very good gun skills at all. I didn't have any field awareness. I mean, I was just quick, and that was it. But then you have to, not lie to yourself and think you're the shit. And you have to be able to be molded into this other player, and that's what Excessive and all these other teams help me do.
Yeah, helped you do for sure. Yeah, I mean that's perfect. Be confident, but don't be overconfident.
Yeah,
yeah. Just know that limit. Know where you are and who you are.
Yeah. So I know that you guys shoot Field 1 markers now.
Yes.
And are all of those pretty much Bobby's guns?
Yeah, right now they are. The new one, the Force that we're working on right now, which we're prototyping finally, we're prototyping a lot of the parts right now. That's going to be from the ground up, all new. But yeah, the G6R and the Mark body are Bob's designs that he has already had.
Is it going to be a closed bolt or an?
It'll be a spin Bob.
All right.
We're still gonna. Well, hold on. We have a design basically as soon as this one is finished, the newest version of a poppet valve will be coming out. You like those better? You shoot the.
Yeah, man. I don't know why. I know why, but I feel like they just shoot so much better. I'm
Really?
sold on them. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. I'll have to.
Yeah,
You'll have
because
to.
I have both.
Yo, you do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've shot the LV ones, and the LV
Oh, that's right.
1.5.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah,
I've been sponsored by and I had my own Signature Series one, and I do like how they shoot. It's just when I bring the gun up, and this is something that I'm gonna probably end up making our guys make, but I felt that every time that you bring up an LV1, whenever I snap shoot with somebody, I'm always shooting just under their elbows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you can obviously fix, like after a lot of practice, because I have this conversation with Yosh. I'm like, this G6R, I feel like I'm just missing guys. And I know that they put the guns up side by side and on the exact same barrel levels and put a level over the top of them and shot. The balls go to the exact same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just me. And I would like to say it's just me, but pretty much everybody who shoots them is like they shoot differently.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And maybe it's because it's double stacked or what it is, but every time that I come out and snap shoot with somebody, I'm like, shot him. Like I'm trying to shoot at somebody, and when I have time to like see the ball actually go, it's just always just underneath them. And I just not as accurate. I love the way they feel. I love the way they shoot. So my invention was, I said, because of the way the angle of the tank, if they angled the tank up like just a couple degrees, just a little bit, yeah, it would force you to put your tank a little bit lower in your shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
forcing the barrel tip up a little bit. And I think on an LV, on those spool, the double stack guns,
Yeah.
Your shot is going to be just like 1 degree higher, which you're going to be shooting more people.
Just put on a drop forward.
Just so we know that's patent pending. I've got the
The drawing is right. Happening right now.
Drawing is right here. There we go. Yep, 1 degree up like that, and then with the frame. So there we go. With the trigger here. There we go. And the gun. So that's already been drawn out right there. Patent pending. 1 degree angle up.
Hard 90.
No, it's not. It's 1 degree. But this is where the tank would sit on right here, and the bottle's there. It's got to be imagined. You got to see it.
Or you could just aim higher.
You can aim higher, but that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to have to aim higher.
Well, you have the options. There's the drop forward. Well, no, you can't even do any drop forwards or anything on there now. Or you can be like those kids where they hold the tank literally on top of their shoulder, and they
still
have
it down.
A nice Cobra.
You need to angle. It's an angle, not. It's not bringing the barrel tip up on a level plane. You got to angle it up.
So what is it? So how is it? Is the air hitting the ball different? Because the barrels are obviously the same, right? So is the way the air hitting the ball, is it rolling the ball differently than if it is coming out through the back rather than through the bolt? So
my theory is because it's coming at such a sharp angle, at a 90-degree angle, it's creating that Venturi effect, which puts a top spin on the ball, creating it to lob. However, I am not an engineer, nor am I a pneumatics specialist, so I don't know. And I understand that the same kind of concept happens with a spool valve, spool valve,
Mm-hmm.
is it comes up straight also, but I think it's already in a chamber.
And it's just released from there?
Just just pushes right out instead of wah,
A little more, a little less wah.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew it. I knew it.
You're getting it. You're getting it. Top spin.
So what do you think of the Vegas field?
I like it. I think it's aggressive, which I like. It's kind of like how World Cup kind of suited us a little bit more because it was aggressive on both sides. I hated the first 4 field layouts last year because the snake side, as you know, is like if you don't run there off the break, you're sitting in a thing like was it Atlantic City? You just jump into that first tower and just bounce shot each other.
Yeah.
And then let's see, in Vegas, same thing. It was like if you don't make it to that corner, you're not making it out because Yosh or Marcelo would just sit there with 13 pods shooting one way. And then it just everything was so slow because of that wall or because of whatever. Now, I mean, I'm sure you're running straight to the snake, not even getting shot.
I'm playing everywhere.
Baby.
I like it though because it reminds me of 7-man.
Yeah, exactly.
And I loved 7-man, so I'm really digging it for sure.
We didn't have the best practice last weekend, but this weekend we have Infamous coming out, So
How
as long
so?
as it
How
doesn't,
so? So how does Dynasty not have a good practice? Like,
well, because we practice on a military base, you're at the mercy of the guy who's checking you in that day.
oh,
So they had an issue, and so we have to go online. We have to register online and say, hey, we're coming in, and you just do it once, pretty much. It's not really a deterrent. But if you get a guy who's like, oh, this doesn't, I don't know, this doesn't add up or whatever. So basically, Arturo, who also signed in and has played there without any issue forever, had his passport, his visa, his driver's license from Mexico. And this guy just didn't really understand, maybe. And he's like, well, where's your green card? And Arturo's like, I'm not a citizen. I have my visa from Mexico. And he's like, do you have a driver's license? And he's like, yeah, you're holding it. And he goes, do you have a California driver's license? He goes, we're like, no, he's from Mexico. And we had to pull over. We sat there for an hour and a half waiting to, like, we had to have Customs and Border Patrol come. And then everything was fine, obviously. But then they were like checking our car. They're like, oh, is this thing stolen? We're like, no, we need the VIN number. We need this, all the rental papers. Yeah. And we got there, so it was an hour and a half. And by the time we got to got geared up, it was 11:30, almost 11. Yeah. And Aftermath was like, well, we're kind of tired. So they did 6 points and they left. And so we still had a good time running drills and stuff. But it's like, to play 6 points on Sunday, that's it.
Wasn't as productive as
wasn't as productive as it could have been.
Gotcha.
So we're getting out there earlier this weekend.
So kind of diverted a little bit away from paintball and onto your how has your social media changed, like, throughout the years? I mean, have you been getting a lot more different industries and everything kind of approaching you now because of your popularity?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, a little bit. I had like a Twitter and I did the Facebook thing, and actually Bear Digidio, out of all people, was the one who set my Instagram up, which is kind of funny. He was like, you have to have this, and this is several years ago. And it's funny because I love showing the lifestyle side of what I do, like the travel stuff. But I have a specific demographic, and they like a specific thing. Everybody, and which is I love too. I love it. Unfortunately, it's easier for me to gather content that isn't. It's hard, as like, I don't know, maybe it's not hard for you, but I can barely even buy a photo of myself sometimes. I'll use the same picture over and over again, especially in the off season. And it's like, after an event, I'm like, who is taking the pictures? Where are they?
I hit them up all the time. And they probably, I'm sorry to all the photographers out there, because they're probably tired of me, but I'm always looking for, I can only take so many pictures of, like, something I have in the house. Like, that's not paintball related. Yeah.
And I guess I'm not very, like, there's no picture. I don't think there's ever been one picture of me bunkering somebody, but, there's a picture of me behind a Dorito. That's pretty much all you're getting, or a breakout photo. That's all you get. And I wish I had more content. It's funny whenever Brad or someone posts a picture, I'll like immediately screen grab it and cut it up.
Repost.
Thank God I have content finally. Like, I have to wait for another photographer to post a picture of me in order for me to get a photo.
And then you have to find it, or they tag you.
Yeah. Hopefully they tag me. So it's tough to get content, but I know what my followers want to see. They want to see sweet action pictures, and I wish that I could give that to them. However, in the meantime, I'll post a picture of me freediving with this 12-ton humpback whale.
That was so cool, dude.
I think it's the coolest thing in the world, and people will be like, you get
See, I love that shit.
The difference in likes or interaction rather is a substantial difference, and that's the same thing as my YouTube channel. Like, I never even really realized it, and Grayson Goff kind of told me, he's like, dude, you have a huge YouTube following. I think I have 26,000 YouTube subscribers, and I get a lot of people. Again, content's hard for me to create because I edit it, I shoot it. I don't have, like, it's not like Marky or somebody who just runs out there and says H a bunch of times and gets a bunch of footage and then gives it all to somebody else and they edit it and post it up for them. It's like, I have to gather it, tell the story, and do this and that. And I love showing the travel side of things. Like, I love showing people what they can, and that's the whole point. But I know that the paintball demographic is like, I'll show a video of, the free diving or diving with a great white shark, or, walking with a gorilla or something, which is very cool. And it gets 6,000 views, and then I'll post a gear bag video and that gets 50,000 views. And so, and I understand that, and I get it. but it's just I gotta, it's the one for them, one for me, or two for them, one for kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's been becoming increasingly more difficult to gather content to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where I'm getting at, because I'm trying to make the sponsors some guff all the time. They're like, oh, well, can you post something about us? You're posting about BKI all the time. I'm like, oh god, okay, yeah, of course. I'll post a HK Army picture, and then BKI something will come up with BKI, or like, I got I'm helping the PB swag bag guys, and then I got the Spevo stick, things, and the Under Armour, and so everybody wants to I gotta help everybody.
You gotta try and please everybody at the same in one post. Please everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's others like projects and stuff like that I'm passionate about that are tough. But yeah, social media is not the easiest thing. And I think that's it's a really important tool for fields that they don't exploit as much. Oftentimes, field owners are a little older, and maybe they don't really grasp that the power of that media or the power of their youth that practices at the field.
Yeah.
We last year, the paintball extravaganza, we taught just had like a field pro talk about how the interaction between and the cultivation of players is just really, really down right now. Oftentimes, if you go to a paintball field, they're trying to make the buck. They're trying to make profit. So it's not profitable to have a tournament field, and oftentimes, I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm sure that I've been part of this, a cause of this, but like tournament players oftentimes want more and want to do less. Like, I want paint for cheap, and I'm going to leave my box here on the ground when I'm done because I'm paying you entrance fees, so someone should clean this up for me.
They don't want responsibility for their
there's a large sense of entitlement once you get into that tournament side, because granted, you're playing more often. Like, so one tournament player will play, and say you play 20
both
or 30 days
on the weekend.
Yeah, both days, sometimes on the weekend if you're really, really passionate about it. Whereas but they're paying, entrance fee, a discounted entrance fee, discount on paint, where one walk-on player is worth 3 days of a tournament player.
Yeah.
Well, the tournament player is now like, hey, what am I going to get? I'm keep coming here. I'm supporting you guys. But I think social media is a really overlooked tool where that can help the symbionts between a field owner who gets frustrated, or oftentimes a field owner that has a tournament side. They're just doing that for the passion aspect of it. They're not doing it because this is what makes me the money. The money has been made on the recreation side to support the tournament habit. And so, shout out, like, big props. I'm stoked on anytime that I can go to a field and they have both running very smoothly. Mario over at Nitro Paintball, he's got a big tournament side, and that's pretty self-sufficient. And then he's got a successful walk-on side. Anthony at Boston Paintball, who I know has been a topic of conversation before, is incredibly passionate about cultivating the next bit of talent, because, like we've talked about several times, if there's no one there to look up to, and there's no pro spotlight, then why are kids gonna want to keep playing? It's cool to come to a field and be like, whoa, those are there's a tournament side of it. Like, those are Marcelo, I think his story has been told several times. Like, he probably wouldn't be playing professional if he didn't go to a field where there are professional players. And that trickles down to pretty much everybody that plays there. So when a tournament player is asking, hey, let me get half off my entry, or let me get 10% or 20% off of my box of paint, a field owner should be able to utilize that player more. Don't exploit them, and it can't be overworked on either side. But there should be some sort of relationship, like, hey, look, I know that a 15-year-old kid that comes to my paintball field every weekend is valuable because he goes to school with 1,000 kids. So every time that you come out and you want 20% off your box of paint or half off your paint, or if I'm going to sell it to you for $45 instead of $85, I need you to post a picture, tag the field, and put a location on there. You got to utilize the social media, and it would take one kid looking at it and going, oh, there's a paintball field, or Johnny plays paintball. I'm going to be his friend. I'm going to ask him about the paintball, because that's the most important thing, is getting that youth in there involved and then cultivating the sport. And I think that's just overlooked right now. So, I mean, obviously, anytime I go to a paintball field, I'm taking a picture of every kid in that's, a group photo, and
Yep.
this is where we are, and like hashtags and stuff like that. I mean, I'm kind of self-taught in all this, but I know what kind of works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I know what, if I'm bunking, please this year, I hope I bunker a couple people and camera guys get it on camera, because I know that there's going to be way more interaction in that photo, and that's going to then pop up on some random person's feed, or even I get it all the time. It's like I'll get messages from somebody who's like, dude, you still play? I used to play back in 2003, and then I went to college and I forgot about it. It's really cool to see Dynasty still playing. I'm going to get back into it, that sort of stuff. So it is important to have that social media, because I think there is a statistic. I don't know. You'd have to ask your assistant to Google it. But
yep, not happening.
how much time people spend on their phones now? And it's like 80% of their information. Like people don't. Sometimes I'll drive somewhere. I'm not driving and texting, but when I'm in the car with somebody else, my girlfriend's driving, I'll be on my phone. I'm like, sweet, I got to get on there. Like what's going on? Where are we at? What's happening? But and it's valuable, man. Like you see these YouTube stars that are just garbage. Like I want to kill my. I know. I just think, what is these people have all these views and this and that, but man, it's powerful. Like I got to give a shout out to Twitter. I use that all the time. I get my news from there. I make suggestions on there, and I complain on there.
Never got hooked.
I never was either, but I just randomly would do like a tweet of the day. But I mean, I say stuff to American Airlines all the time, like, "Hey, flight staff was great on this one. Hey, the seat in 4A doesn't recline, something's broken. This, or like, awesome, this gate agent did this, great." And they're quick to come back to me. American Airlines is my airline that I have all my status on.
Shout out to American Airlines.
Shout out to I posted on Twitter just recently, and I was like, "Hey, does anybody have any recommendations on headphones? Because I needed a new pair of headphones." And I tagged Bose and Sony and Beats, because those are the three that and Bose reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what's your address? We'll send you some headphones." And I was like, "All right, awesome. Bose it is." And now I'm stoked. Like
hell yeah.
Lex has done that. There's so many, because it's out there into the ether, and people don't realize I don't think that works for everybody, and I don't even have that many followers, but it's important to voice educated opinions, please. And do research beforehand. I'll get a lot of my news from Twitter. It's a pretty great news feed, like a tool, and I'll look it up and be like, "Oh, this is pretty neat." I didn't follow Vice News, or I'll follow like whatever the news station is, and I'll get a lot of information from there. And if I think it's something really neat, like I'll retweet it, and then someone else will see it. But that's how you disseminate information, and that's same with Instagram. You're looking at photos, and anytime that we're looking for a restaurant, because we travel a lot, if we I use my phone, I look it up, and sometimes I'll check out their Instagram and be like, "Oh, this food looks good." Check out the hashtags and see what's there. There's important tools in there, and same thing goes for paintball fields. Same thing goes for really anything. So does the podcast have a site yet, or what?
Well, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there, but a lot of it's just through the apps themselves that kind of you subscribe to, that you just get the notifications from the podcast. But speaking of, I've had a lot of people approach me and have said, "Hey, I've been out of paintball for a while, but I've started to binge listen to your podcast, and now I'm starting to go out and play again." Yeah, and I was like, that's awesome.
And media is an incredibly powerful tool. Obviously, as everybody in the U.S. knows right now, that media can definitely manipulate a lot of things, which is why I always like to say educated opinion. I haven't gone on. I refuse to go on PB Nation and those forums, because it's just like people arguing and just saying nonsensical stuff under fake, Eagle Wing 7324 sniper is going to say this about an upcoming item or product or podcast, and it's a completely uneducated opinion. They're hiding behind a screen name. I'm at Ryan Greenspan. You can find me.
Yeah, exactly.
But with any kind of media, you have to try to be educated as possible.
Yeah, but be
No,
yourself.
I think this is great, man. It's definitely something we need, and like you said before, it's so easy to digest audio.
Hmm.
You know, just listen to it. Like someone's in their car right now,
Yeah.
listening to you and me talk.
Well,
Well,
that's the thing too, is I would love to eventually get this to a point where we don't have to do this via Skype. Like we can sit down in a room together. We don't. I mean, because this gets the conversation going. I like to be able to do this, to be able to see the person I'm having a conversation with, and just have a good interaction. But I would love to do these
right.
in a studio, face to face, that whole spiel. But everything has to start somewhere. But I think this is what I want, because I feel like the players that I have on, even yourself, I feel like you've opened up, and people can see that, and you become so much more personable
Hmm.
to the audience or to the listeners.
Right, right. Yeah, and yeah, I think this is a great way to do it. You should try doing some. I don't know. You've probably thought about doing it in events, but it's like so hectic out there. It's hard to get
Especially with playing. Like
playing. You know.
they think I'm focusing on doing this, which I
Oh
am,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
at the
yeah.
same
Yeah.
time I'm trying to do other things. But I'm not going to be playing forever, and
Hmm.
I'm sure when I'm done, when I hang it up, I'm hopefully still doing the podcast, and I can just kind of have that be I come out for a day, for Saturday or whatever, and I set up a booth on Saturday. I do 3, 4, 5 podcasts, whatever.
Are you going to do any of the webcast guest speaking at all?
I don't know. I'd love to. I did one last year. I really really liked it, but it's not up to me.
That's another platform, man. That's the biggest thing is uh, I haven't been great about it this last season because I've had opportunities to go up there and I've just been kind of busy or didn't want to stay or was like,
Hmm.
oh, I thought I was going to go up, but I'm not going to wait another hour and a half to get up there. But I should take more advantage of that because it's a great promotional tool. Obviously, I think that I have a decent amount of insight to be able to carry a commentary throughout a game.
Yeah.
But it'll open up your media and your style and you're promoting, especially the podcast or whatever it may be in the future, to the public that may already know about it or has heard about it because of whatever promotion. But it's again, we're talking about tools to be able to promote your business, the sport, and whatever I guess agendas you may have and what you
Yeah.
want to do. And I think, that's again any media or medium of information exchange that you can take advantage of. Get out there.
Yeah, because I would love to eventually be able to just do the podcast, and that's what I'm doing. That's my living. I would love to just do the podcast, but I have to work up towards it. But I wanted to go back to when you were talking about how you don't have any pictures of you bunkering anybody, and I think the reason why is because you catch everybody trying to come bunker you, and I think that because that's you first have for some reason throughout the years you have been this thing that I have not been able to. Dude, there was I forget what tournament it was, but I swear to God, every time I had you in my crosshairs, I either got a ball that was squirrely or like somebody else like had, or you shot me. Like there was the one point where I think I talked to Marcelo about this point where I jumped into the W, and then I came over to your side, but then when I dipped into your guys' wing, you had already made the move out to like another can. And I come inside to shoot where you were, and like pop pop pop. I'm like, motherfucker, fucking got me again. But it's so fun, like to be able to play against somebody like you who just has that paintball, that
luck.
field awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's fucking. I guarantee you, 90% of paintball is luck. I mean, there's the whole mental side and everything, but dude, it's so lucky.
Yeah, I mean, a great deal of just running off the break. I mean, obviously, depending on how good the other shooter is, but man, to be able to spread, if you think about it, the balls are coming 10 a second, so it's every sixth, whatever millisecond, it's 1/6 of a second, a ball's coming through this gap, and you have to make it through there, like in that gap, and it has to happen at that exact time. So a lot of it is skill. You're incredibly fast, but someone not as fast or even slower can still make it across those gaps with a matter of luck. So that's it's a good takeaway.
Yeah, but dude,
funny.
I gotta get going because I have a little one. Oh, by the way, do you plan on having any little ones or anything?
Yeah, not in the immediate future, but yeah, absolutely, I'd love to. That's something that I really I would love to do, or you know, it's in the cards. It's in the
Yeah.
cards. I just got to figure out. I don't know. I heard that you kind of have to slow down on traveling quite a bit. If,
Yeah. A lot
you
of
know, kind
it.
of a lot of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
But
something.
it's something that you believe me, and I'm sure you can ask Todd or you can ask anybody
Well, I can't
that's
ask Todd
recently
yet because that just happened, and he's got twins, so he might not be too stoked on the whole.
Dude,
No,
I'm
but I mean, like,
telling
look,
you.
Alex Frazi's got a kid.
Yeah.
Tony Perkins got kids. Brian Cole, my buddy Nate. Like there's kids out there.
It's something else, dude. When you look at something that you made and it's fleshy and it talks and it walks, yeah, it starts to kind of take over and you kind of start rethinking everything, and it's definitely different. It's not for everybody, obviously, but it's a whole nother world, man.
Yeah, no, and I got a mother too. She's I don't want to say chomping at the bit.
I was gonna say she's probably bugging you.
She's ready for it.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for. Is there anything anything you wanna end with or kind of give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should obviously thank the sponsors. We were just talking about that. HK Army, it's on there. They're doing big things. Obviously, always supporting them or supporting us. It's pretty big. I'm stoked to play another full season here in the U.S. with Dynasty, out there in Europe with the Expendables. I'll be down in Australia also. Just trying to. We touched on it, but just trying to get out there as much as I possibly can, play as much paintball as possible, teach as many clinics as I possibly can, because when we're teaching clinics, it's not just teaching you guys a skill set or the players a skill set. It's teaching people how to gain more confidence. And that translates because we'll have all different types of skill sets out there, and you'll have the guys that just kind of play paintball because they're not really that great at other sports. Like I wasn't very good at any other sports, but paintball doesn't discriminate. Anybody can play it, and I've had kids out there that were just kind of like, just a huge fan and not very good, not very confident. And once they get a little bit better, they have a lot more confidence, and next thing you know, they're going to be playing more paintball, because they're shooting more people next weekend. And I think that's something that's often overlooked. I just got an email today because I posted up I just posted up 2 new clinics on my website, and someone's like, "Hey, I haven't ever played tournament before. Can I play in these clinics?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a great stepping stone," because we've had people who have never played. I think just in the last 6 months, I forgot where I was. Someone's like, "I've actually never played on a scenario field before. On a tournament field before. I've only ever played scenario paintball."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's a great stepping stone. And again, it's another way to show your talents. Because you meet people. Like I was just in Boston, we were out there in the Florida Combine, and then this event in Georgia. There are guys that, come from all over the place.
Yeah.
And meet new players. And so clinics are an awesome way to kind of get in there.
And you're never too above a clinic. I mean, because I'm sure there's plenty of local players out there. They're like, I don't need to go to a clinic. It's 100%. More than just learning how to snap shoot and keep your elbow in. There's so much more knowledge to be attained, and I think if you think you're at all good, go to a clinic and build on that if that's the case. Yeah,
and I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, and the majority of the drills that we do at the clinics, we're doing at practice. Like tomorrow, we have practice tomorrow. We're gonna start just kind of running some drills, but we're gonna be doing these snap shooting drills, like these breakout drills that I'm teaching. We teach them on BKI too. It's just obviously you get a lot more hands-on in a clinic. Like we're there, but I'm doing these drills tomorrow. Like Marcelo and I went out there yesterday, and we ran drills, and it was the same stuff that we teach in our clinics, and it's stuff that we use as pros. I mean, you can never be too good at snap shooting. Like, I wish I didn't need to practice snap shooting anymore, because I'd be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I mean, promoting clinics, teaching as many as I can, doing the BKI thing. That's gaining a lot more traction. We're getting a lot more content up a lot more regularly, which is important. Cool. I think Marcelo and Nick just released a Las Vegas field layout. We got this summer camp. I don't know if Marcelo mentioned that, but it's gonna be pretty cool. July 25th to the 29th. Out in outside of Boston. It's a 4-day all-inclusive, 4-night all-inclusive summer camp.
That's cool.
We're gonna be living with everybody at the venue, And,
He
dude,
did mention that. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it now.
So
Yeah.
stoked. It's something I've wanted to do for so long. Is just because you've taught clinics. It's like sometimes they're pretty rushed. So you got 30 guys or you got 20 guys, and you're like, okay, well, we got to move on because I want to make sure you get as much knowledge as possible. And a lot of the stuff that we teach at the clinics is just a tool for you to use later. Yep. I don't expect you to be perfect at it at the clinic, but at this 4-day thing, we got all the time in the world. Well, yeah, 4 days. But you get the idea. Like, we're going to be able to make sure that you're 100% on it.
Exactly.
So that's gonna be exciting. I think they just released the pre-sale out to like the BKI members. They get the pre-sale for that, and then some of the combine guys. But then at the Vegas event is when they'll open, if it's not sold out already. If you contact me, I might be able to maybe give you a little in.
There it is.
But yeah, there it is. But yeah, thanking the sponsors, Field One, HK Army. We just switched to Immortal Air, so I'm excited for that. The Under Armour guys. Thank you, Bose, for the headsets. Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Carl, for doing this. I think this is really important. It's a great way to get the information out there and to get to know some of the pro players out there a little bit more.
Yeah. And, thank you, man.
If you want to do a clinic, or anybody out there, Carl, if you want to do a clinic, hit me up.
I'm always down, man. I'm always. I love teaching clinics.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly important and useful tool. So, and again, no one's. I'm learning stuff out there. I'm learning stuff out there every weekend too, man. So
sweet, man. Well, thank you so much, and I will see you in a little over a week.
Yeah, I'll see you in Vegas.
All right, bud. Safe travels. Thank you, Brian, for sitting down and chatting with me about your traveling life, about your social media life, and obviously about your paintball life and all the opinions. I mean, I think what's cool about this platform is that you can actually hear all of everybody's, all the best players, all their opinions out there. It's not just something that they just do a quick little here or there on social media. They can actually explain themselves a little bit. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth, and it's really cool having people open up on the podcast and really say how they truly feel or what direction they would like things to go, and hopefully we're helping. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're the ones that are playing the sport more than anybody, and all we want to do is help grow this thing that we have watched grow in different ways from other people. So we're just trying to help direct the sport, but I think Ryan's doing a great job. He's a giant influence on people from all over the world, and he does a great job, great role model, and I wish him the best of luck and the safest of travels. So another quick thank you to our sponsors, Charm City Paintball. Like I said before, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out on my Instagram. I have a Charm City paintball headband on my pack. It's the American flag one. I will be posting up more detailed pictures. I'm sure over this weekend. I'm in Dallas, so I will have it there if you guys want to come check it out. But he has a website, or I'm sorry, he has a Facebook and an Instagram where he has posted all of the kind of fabrics and everything that he has over there. But if you want something custom, he can do that too. Charm City Paintball. Check them out. Also brought to you by ckfightlife.com, also known as Contract Killer. If you are into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they have gis, belts, rash guards, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff. But along with that, they make paintball gear, packs, pants, and some other paintball gear as well. But they do laser engraving, custom designed laser engraving. And if you would like anything like that, make sure you call Tony 951-219-5045, and like I said, ask for Tony. Tell him Carl from the Playing On podcast sent you, or jet over to ckfightlife.com and check out all of their gear. And last but not least, we are brought to you by Planet Eclipse, who have come out with the CS2. And if you're looking for a marker, there it is, CS2. But if you ask me, all of their markers are awesome. I prefer the LV series, but I also wouldn't mind shooting a CS2 because those are pretty slick. But thank you to Planet Eclipse. Find them, planeteclipse.com. Thank you everybody for listening. I had a great podcast. I think this was awesome. And thank you for listening. If you have any kind of input or guest suggestions, anything like that, hit me up on all my social media platforms. Instagram is Carl_Markowski, or on Facebook, Carl Microwave Markowski. And yeah. And here's another one in the books. Again, thank you, everybody. And we will see you again here soon on the Playing On Podcast. Peace.